Luke 2. In those days, Caesar Augustus issued a decree that a census should be taken of the entire Roman world. This was the first census that took place while Quirinius was governor of Syria, and everyone went to their own town to register. So Joseph also went up from the town of Nazareth in Galilee to Judea, to Bethlehem, the town of David, because he belonged to the house and line of David. He went there to register with Mary, who was pledged to be married to him and was expecting a child. While they were there, the time came for the baby to be born, and she gave birth to her firstborn, a son. She wrapped him in cloths and placed him in a manger because there was no guest room available for them. This is the word of the Lord. I don't think I'm the only one, but these weeks leading up to Christmas have been kind of like a blur of events. My husband and I have been to no less than 3 school pageants, Milton and Guelph and Cambridge. We've been to a community choir event because one of our grandkids was at the RBG singing over there. I went to Redeemer's concert. Our church choir presented a cantata. I took in the Handel's Messiah in Waterdown. And whew, it seemed like every one of those events, and maybe you find this too, ended with a bang. You know, whether it was our cantata and their reprise at the end, or whether it's Handel's Messiah and "Worthy is the Lamb," right? You could just hear it at the end of the whole piece. The Christmas school programs, what they would do is they would get everybody up on the stage. So I have a couple of little videos on my Facebook of the entire school up on the stage singing their song. So it's always the grand finale. Well, it's Christmas Day. And this is the grand finale, right? During these last few weeks, the 4 weeks of Advent, what we have been doing here in this church is sort of, kind of presenting the Christmas pageant. We didn't dress up any kids or any elders and deacons to come up here like shepherds or anything. But what we did was take us through different acts of this whole Christmas story. And so the first week we met Zachariah and Elizabeth, this really, really old couple who are told they're going to have a baby. And when they hear that news, they are reminded, as Zachariah, the name means, that God remembers. He remembers us. The second act, Act 2, was Joseph. We found Joseph taking Mary as his wife, even though she was pregnant with somebody else's baby. Hard thing to do. Hard thing to do. Act 3 was about a young girl. A young girl probably no more than 13. Some people say she might have been only 12. She's dealing with the shame of being pregnant. And then Mary's shame turns into her greatest glory. And 2 days ago, on Sunday, we opened the curtain on Act 4. We joined the ranks with the worst of the worst, those stinky shepherds, and we celebrated that the worst people are blessed with the best news. Each Sunday of Advent, we've been becoming closer and closer. The excitement's building, the anticipation is rising as we finally show up here for the grand finale. And here it is. It's time to pull out all the stops. Fill the stage with Zachariah and Elizabeth singing their song, with Joseph giving some kind of soliloquy, with the shepherds applauding, with Mary opening gifts. Bring everyone up on the stage, because this is the climax of the Christmas pageant. But that's not what happens. Instead, it's very quiet. The curtain on our stage is drawn back ever so slowly on only one scene in Act 5. It's dark. We can make out the form of 2 figures. A young girl has just given birth to a baby. Her eyes are closed. Her hair is damp on her forehead with the hard work of delivering a baby. She's exhausted. Joseph has done what he could to help, but what do carpenters and stonemasons know about delivering babies? There's no indication from what we read in Scripture that there was even a midwife present. Maybe because the shame surrounding these two teenagers was just too much for them, even the midwives, to handle. But of course, there's a third person on the stage. At the back of the house, now typical homes in the first century Palestine, the floor would drop off at the back of the house, and there would be a lower section where the animals would be kept at night. That way the animals would be safe from predators, the sheep and the goats would be kept out of harm's way. And there was always, of course, the added bonus for any of you who've been on a farm that know that animals in the building warm the building up. And so they would have added some heat for those living in the upper level. Where the floor drops off, so the animals would be lower level, where the floor drops off, there are two indentations in the stone floor. These elongated circles, writes Kenneth Bailey in Jesus Through Middle Eastern Eyes, these elongated circles represent mangers dug out of the lower end of the living room. And in one of these mangers lies a baby. In scene 1 of Act 5, no one says anything. There's no dialogue recorded in the Bible because there is nothing to be said on this holy night. It's a silent night, a holy night. And no one speaks because today we don't need spoken words. Today the Word has become flesh, alive, new life. I read to you a poem by Neil Paul. How do we make words stick? Glue or tattoo them to the chambers of the heart, the hallways of the mind? From what adhesive may we find security to fasten what the mind may soon forget, the heart ignore? What more? Hammer and nail may fail, rivet or clamp, perhaps a stamp to print words inerasable. But what of water? Fluid so clear and near we may forget its power. For here upon this bank, this very hour, the body, heart, soul, mind, beneath the surface went to find new life. Yes, new. Broke out to breathe again and hear, you too are my beloved. The silent words need no adhesive. They live within the spirit and will find a way to nurture heart and soul and mind. Neil Paul. In Act 5, the world holds its breath. The silent words need no adhesive. Behold, I tell you a mystery. Because of what you are seeing today, we will not all sleep, but we will all be changed. In a flash, in the twinkling of an eye, at the last trumpet, for the trumpet will sound, the dead will be raised imperishable, and we will be changed. 1 Corinthians 15. Today, on Christmas Day, you have been privileged. You've been privileged to see behind the curtain, to peek behind the mystery, to see the Word which is made flesh. God has come to us in human form. He has come to bring salvation. Salvation, the power to heal and to make all things new. When the Word became flesh, God put his plan of salvation into action by becoming one of us. He became one of us. Hebrews 4 puts it this way: "For we do not have a high priest who is unable to sympathize with our weaknesses, but we have one who has been tempted in every way, just as we are, yet was without sin. Let us then approach the throne of grace with confidence, so that we may receive mercy and find grace to help us in our time of need." Whatever it is that you are working through right now, whatever your time of need looks like, Jesus knows. And he understands. And he has the power to heal and to make new. The grand finale of this morning's Christmas pageant might not be what we might have expected. Jesus was born without any fanfare at all. Just two people on the stage, two people and a baby. And yet this quiet, private moment changed history forever. Oh, Christmas is to be celebrated. And when you leave this church this morning, I want you to go and do that. You know, eat all the chocolate that's in your house. Crank up those Christmas songs that your husband is so sick of hearing. You know, laugh at all those pine needles that are in the carpet and in your registers and under the baseboard. And yeah, I don't have a real tree. Just go home and celebrate. For a few moments this morning, look quietly upon the scene that is Act 5. While they were there, the time came for the baby to be born. And she gave birth to her firstborn, a son. She wrapped him in cloths and placed him in a manger because there was no guest room available for them.